Community collaboration is the way of the future. This is Skull Babylon, and you are listening to another exciting, educational, and inspirational community interactive episode of Paradigm Shift Radio. For this episode, the lines were open for anyone in the community to call in to share their experiences, questions, perceptions, and knowledge to the collective education of the show. Throughout the conversation, we talked about some really cool new additions to ParadigmShiftCentral.com website, other exciting news, and the Paradigm Shift Harlem Shake video that we want you to help make more viral. Once we brought the callers onto the air, we got talking about UFOs, perception-expanding experiences with Salvia, aliens, lucid dreaming, and at the end of the show, our last caller who joined us was a walk-in. Unfamiliar with what walk-ins are? Stay tuned for some clarification on the subject matter from one firsthand. If you are new to Paradigm Shift, or if you have been listening for quite some time now and are enjoying the show, then please feel free to help the community expand further by considering donating even $5 to ParadigmShiftCentral.com/donate. Your support is greatly appreciated and helps the synchronistic expansion and reach of the show out across the grid. In addition, also be sure to tell your friends about PSR and invite more people to tune in and get involved with future episodes. As a side note, you'll notice that the audio for this episode was a little bit choppy for about the first 20 minutes, but if anything, consider this a chance to hone your psychic abilities as you allow your mind to fill in the blanks. Join us on Facebook at facebook.com/ParadigmShiftRadio, tune in for future episodes, and remember, go with the flow and let yourself know, because regardless of where you come from, you'll get to where you go. Enjoy the show.
Enlightenment comes only when there is space for it. Build relaxation and leisure into your life so that your mind, as well as your body, is free to rest. Good evening, good afternoon, and good morning to everyone, wherever and when you are. This is Skull Babylon. You're tuned in for another consciousness-shifting episode of Paradigm Shift Radio. And just, of course, a big shout-out to everybody in the live chat. And just give me a little feedback while we're getting comfortable. Make sure that you guys can hear me okay and that we are good to go. Obviously, we've got a lot of people in the live chat as it is right now, which is about 30 users. So shout-out to all of you. And if you aren't in the live chat, please feel free to join it. If you're listening to the show through Blog Talk, then just scroll down a bit and you'll see the live chat and you'll see the option to log in there, and you can actually log in using your Facebook, which is something that's quite accessible and easy to do. So that said, what do we got tonight? Well, tonight on the show, we have no particular special guest other than you, the people, the community, us, which means that we are going to take the show wherever we want it to go, which is actually kind of cool for me because, I honestly can't predict exactly where the show is going to go. Like, I'm going to be co-hosting it, co-directing it, co-organizing, co-facilitating with you guys. So if you have a particular topic, if you have a particular idea, thought that you want to bring onto the show, then please let us know and please call in. So again, guys, if you can just confirm with me, I think I'm getting some confirmation that the microphone does sound okay. So if that's the case, then we will be moving forward with the show as per usual. So that said, we do have a lot of new people tuned into the show tonight, and of course a big shout out to them. And I just want to go over a little bit of community news. So okay, I'm just getting a little bit of confirmation that it is a little bit choppy, so I'm going to just try and solve a couple things on my end. 1 second here. I'm literally operating out of Central Command here, aka my bedroom, and working with what I got. So let me just close down a couple windows there, and hopefully that will ease everything out for us. All right, cool. So let me know if there's any difference or if there's any sort of choppiness continuing. So, okay, so it's still a little bit of choppiness, but hopefully that will clean itself up. So just let me know if it's too bad, and we'll make do. But, so, like I said, Paradigm Shift Radio, for those of you who may be new to the show, Paradigm Shift Radio is an extension of ParadigmShiftCentral.com, and that's the website that you're going to want to check out while you're listening to the show. So again, ParadigmShiftCentral.com is a collective hub for a global network of communities all across the world who are encouraging open-mindedness, healthy living, and the evolution of consciousness. They are bringing new consciousness into this world by creating physical and digital spaces where we can have conversation in the same way that we're doing here right now. Now, I myself, my name is Skull Babylon, aka Brendon Wolfshield Culleton, and I reside in London, Ontario, Canada, and I'm part of Paradigm Shift London, and we have our meetings every Friday at a yoga studio, and that's kind of what we're doing here. So in the same way that we have our physical meetings and we really just let the ideas flow, we let the ideas bounce, that's what we're going to be doing on the show tonight. So pretend that if you're listening to the show that you are part of a giant circle of people all sitting together in one big yoga studio, one digital mindful yoga studio, if that helps you sort of visualize this whole idea. And as for, on average, I mean, it fluctuates depending on the episode, depending on how this episode gets shared and who's been promoting it. We have the tendency to sort of average out between around 250 listeners to the highest being up around like 800-ish if there's like some sort of special guest. So just keep that in mind. There's a lot of people. There's a heck of a lot of people who are listening to into the show, which is a very cool thing because the show is about collective education and collective inspiration. So the more people who we have involved and the more people who we have listening, the more potential that we have to sort of make a difference and just being able to act as mirrors upon other mirrors, reflecting into infinity and expanding our understandings and concepts of the reality around us. Because that's really what we're going to be doing. We're going to be talking about the universe, this mysterious universe that we live in, and our place within it, and the potentials that we have within it. So if you want to learn more about Paradigm Shift Central, please visit the website because there have been a lot of updates that I've put into it within the last week. You've literally, if it's been a week since you've checked out the website, go back there and check it out, and you will see a heck of an overturn with the website. It is completely updated. It's still being updated, but there is a lot of new additions, which I'm just going to mention to you real quickly. So, I mean, I'm just listing them off the top of my head. Like, there's almost like more than I can even sort of remember off the top of my head, but I spent a lot of time doing it. First of all, there is a live chat feature in the website. So if you're having trouble getting into the live chat feature either now or at any time during the show, feel free to go to ParadigmShiftCentral.com and use the live chat feature there. And you may find that there are some people hanging out there as well, and you can sort of just have a smaller conversation there. Now, also, we have a couple new graphics. We have a new page on how to start a Paradigm Shift community in your area, because essentially that's what we want to do. We want to be able to use this show as a platform to encourage other people to start their Paradigm Shift communities. As per now, there's about 60 or 7 Paradigm Shift communities, each one sort of varying in levels of interactivity and activity, and we want more people to be able to start those up. And it's something that anybody can start up. You don't need any particular permission. You just need to be able to give yourself permission, and it can start off by creating, it does start off by creating the community digitally. So I was talking to today, Derek, and I'll just mention this, and he doesn't mind, but he's in New York, and he was just talking to me, and you know, I was just saying, like, you know, like, hey, Derek, like, how come you haven't started up a Paradigm Shift community in your area? Like, you seem like the right guy for the job, so to speak. And he's like, oh, well, you know, I'm not really sure if I'm going to have time to like commit to it, or particularly he was like, I don't think there's going to be people who are interested in it. And, you know, I sort of said, well, it's okay. Like, you can create the Facebook page and then just sort of use that as like putting that bait into the water just to see who bites, because you might be surprised. You might feel that in your area a lot of your friends are quote-unquote not interested in this stuff, but you don't know until you start putting it out there as to who's actually going to respond to it. And you might find that once you start putting it out there, you might find that these people are going to start coming out of the woodwork and be like, oh my God, man, like, I'm really glad you're starting this community. Like, this is exactly what I was looking for. And then before you know it, you're going to start finding that more and more people are going to start contacting you and say, like, hey, this is really cool. How can I get involved? And then suddenly you're not doing it by yourself. You're actually getting several other people behind you. So, again, if you feel that you don't have the ability to do it on your own, that's really just your ego sort of giving you an excuse, and it has a tendency to do that, and it has a tendency to avoid things. So consider starting up a Paradigm Shift community, and if you need tips on how to do that, go to the main website and click on the banner, or the image right where on the front page where it says, we want you to help create more Paradigm Shift communities, and go and read that over and let us know. Let us know once you start up your Paradigm Shift community. So I'm looking forward to hearing more about how Derek's community is going to be unfolding in the future. So other news in terms of what's new on the website, we have added a bunch of share buttons in there, a bunch of graphics in there, this and that. In particular, the knowledge library is something that you're going to want to check out. So check out the learning resources tool, and underneath there, just on the the right, scroll down, you'll see learning resources. Check out there, and you'll see the knowledge library. That is a place where you can go and download a whole bunch of really worthwhile PDF files, including books, and as well as audio files, including meditation audio that you can use within your practice. Because we want to be able to provide you guys with the tools so that you can use them to implement them into your practice. You know, people might just be saying, well, I don't have any good audio to listen to. If that's the case, then go to the knowledge library and check out and download the audio that you need and just go from there. And there's other PDFs and books. There's lots of books, and browse through the library in the same way that you would browse an actual library. You don't need to go there and download every single book at once. Look for the ones that are going to jump out at you, and then just sort of take your time with them and go back and get a new one every once in a while, because there's more there than you'll actually probably have time to read by far. So find the ones that actually resonate with you. And there's also some lectures in there. In particular, there's some really interesting lectures in there by Terence McKenna. So if any of you are interested in Terence McKenna, go to the Knowledge Library. So if you go to paradigmshiftcentral.com/library, that's the direct link. You'll find it there. Take your time, browse it, share it. We want to get that knowledge out there. Other stuff that is also on the website, you will find a new section on video game mindfulness training. Now, this is something I'm very particularly interested in, so check that out. There are a selection of flash games that I've embedded into the website, very specifically chosen to help train your mindfulness. So a lot of times people think of video games as escapism, something to sort of get away from the mundane reality, so to speak. Here, I want you to be able to use these help encourage mindfulness. It's going to be something that's going to test your ability to focus and to think and to be aware. So one of the top games at the very top is the game Geometry Wars. It's a flash version of the game, and some of you are quite familiar with the actual Xbox Live Arcade version of the game, both 1 and 2, as I am myself, being a big fan of video games, so I haven't actually played real video games in quite some time now, just because I've been so busy. Check that out. It's a really fun game, and it's also something that we want to encourage younger kids to play. So if you might have a younger sibling or even a child, I know there are people who listen to this show with their children, give them a chance to try these games and just give them a chance to grow. You're not going to be the best at game the first time you try it, but the purpose is to try it, get up and try again. And in particular, like, I play the Geometry Wars game usually first thing every morning. It's interesting if I play it in the morning, and it sort of like helps wake me up. It helps sort of like get me sort of thinking and going, get those gears rolling. And then scroll down the page and you'll find some other games in there. In particular, a really cool game called Flow Orb. There's also the 3D missile game. There's a chess game in there. There's a SNES emulated version of Aero Fighters, which is a really good game. There's an audio game. There's Space Invaders, Original Space Invaders, which is a really cool game. So there's a lot of games on there. And you'll also find a kind of a little Easter egg embedded video in there, a clip from the movie Revolver that talks about the destruction of the self and the ego, which is something that I highly, highly recommend you watch more than once. So again, go to paradigmshiftcentral.com/games, and that's where you'll find that. So that's another thing that's new on the website. There's also a bunch of other stuff new on the website. There's, oh man, like I almost have to like pull up the website, but I don't want to mess up my bandwidth while I'm doing this, so I'm just trying to list them off the top of my head. But I encourage you to go there and browse on your own. And I'm not going to get too far into it, but you'll see it. You'll see all the information there. And more importantly, we encourage you to share the website. And there's also the full-length documentaries on there that I want you to check out if you have not yet, including the Journey to Rockmont and as well as Journey to the West. And with that said, there's also going to be another full-length documentary that I'm going to be working on, which I am officially announcing here, and that is going to be a film relating to Lucidity Festival, which is a festival happening in California, which I have been graciously invited to. I went out there and I spoke to some of the people involved with the media team because of some contacts that I had through a friend of ours, through the Paradigm Shift community. So shout out to Jenny for getting me in touch with those. And I'm actually going to mention that again because she just started up another Paradigm Shift community, which I have to give a shout out to. So Facebook.com/Lucidity Festival is what you want to go to, and you're going to hear me talking more about this in the future because that is something that I'm really excited about, and that is something that I want to see some of you guys at. So if you happen to be in California, or if you happen to feel like taking a trip, let me know so that we can actually run into each other there, so that I can actually include you into the story. Like, how cool would that be? Like, do you want to be in the next full-length film that I'm going to make? I want you to be in it, so meet me at the Lucidity Festival and check out their Facebook page, facebook.com/Lucidity Festival, and we're going to be hearing from some of the people involved with that festival in the future, without a doubt. So in the meantime, check out the other festival videos, documentaries that I got on there, The Journey to Rockmont, 3 Days of Light, which was festival back in November, which was a very, very exciting thing, and a lot of very visceral experiences that you can get through watching that festival in the video. So that's also some other news. And with that said, I will say that I am looking I'm always looking for support in terms of being able to financially get myself further down this path and being able to put as much energy as I can into the work that I do. So if you want to help me get to the Lucidity Festival in the first place, please consider donating. So if you go to ParadigmShiftCentral.com/SkullBabylon, you will see the link to my GoFundMe page and also find out more about me. I mean, if you haven't even found it out, if you haven't even seen some of my YouTube stuff, go out, check out my YouTube stuff. I've been doing this for like 4 or 5 years now, and I'm always looking for more people to subscribe. But it's not about me trying to be popular. It's about me trying to share my work that's actually going to make a difference in people's lives. Because I'm constantly hearing back from people saying that, hey, you know, I'm really glad I found your channel. Like, it actually made a difference in my life, which just goes to show that any of us can make a difference in anybody's lives. And I encourage you guys to put out your own videos, which is another part that I have to mention about the website. And I'm not going to apologize for the fact that this community news is taking me a while to get through, because this is exciting stuff, guys. Like, there is a lot happening like within the Paradigm Shift community that you guys are a part of too, that I'm happy to share with you. So another part, in addition, so like I said, if you can, GoFundMe.com/SkullBabylon, help me get out to California. But more so than that money is going to go to even more future projects that are going to help shift consciousness. So any contribution in that is greatly appreciated. And like I said, like, ideally, I would love it, because it hasn't happened yet. I proposed this 3 shows in a row. If everybody listening to the show, by the end of the show, if you enjoyed it, if you got something out of it, consider donating. So ParadigmShiftCentral.com/donate. Donate $1, donate $5. Consider donating $5 a month. Maybe that's just something that will work for you. So just consider that option. And those are going to be able to add up in terms of not for me being able to use that money necessarily, unless you're donating to the Skull Babylon Fund. If you donate directly to the community, then that's going to go right back into community projects, specifically being able to afford this radio show on a monthly basis, as well as the website costs, as well as being able to get other tools, website tools, to help expand the network and to help really get those communities out there. Because like, this paradigm shift stuff is a long-term goal. Like, when I started this, like, I didn't just plan on doing it as a 5-year hobby. Like, this is something that I came here to do, to commit my life to doing. Like, I actually traveled back through time to come here. Like, I don't think any of you guys like really understood that, because I haven't actually talked about that on the show. Like I'm actually from the future, and I came back in time, and I'm actually like a different version of myself from the future, and my current present self is actually off doing something somewhere else. Like, my present self, who would normally be like the one born in this reality, like, I don't know what he's doing because he didn't tell me. But I'm actually like my version of myself from the future, who came back in time to substitute the replacement of myself to be able to fulfill even more of this like dharmatic path that I am on, to be able to help you guys. So I know, pretty paradigm shifty, eh? So I'm going to let that mythos roll. I'm creating my own mythos here, and I want you to create your own mythos too. So think about it. Where do you come from? Where are you going? Ask yourself that, right? So, but what I was going to say, I want you guys to create your own media content to put out there, because Paradigm Shift Central is a foundation for you guys to be able to share your content. So if you go to ParadigmShiftCentral.com/metavision, METAVISION, you will find a whole slew of all the people out there who are putting out their content on YouTube, and it's categorized in such a way that those with the least amount of subscribers are going to be the first ones that you're going to see on the list. So I want you to go there, check it out. I have all this stuff embedded. You may find that the page might actually take a second to load, but it's okay. Once it does, you're going to find it's going to be like a catalog. I want you to scroll through it, take your time, find out which sort of person resonates with you. Literally check them all out if you can, and subscribe to their YouTube pages. Like, I want people who listen to this show to go and support the people who are doing more consciousness shifting work, because there's a lot of people, even in the live chat right now. So shout out to Ross. He's in the live chat right now, and he's putting up his videos, and his videos are under the metavision. And there's a lot of other people who are listening to the show, and their stuff is under the metavision category. And I want you to have your stuff under there too, to be able to share it with a global audience. So if you want if you have a YouTube channel and you want to get more subscribers, if you want to be able to share it with a larger audience, if you would rather have the chance to talk to people rather than feel like you're talking to a wall sometimes, because I know when you're out there on the internet, sometimes it feels like that. But if you want to be able to share it with an audience, then let us know and contact ParadigmShiftCentral.com. Go to Facebook.com/ParadigmShiftCentral. Let us know through that page, and if you have your YouTube channel, send us a link, and I'll embed it like right away. And we want to be able to build that archive, because there is so many people. And again, just think of it as practice. You don't have to be like the top-notch like video maker. We want you to practice sharing your voice, practice putting your stuff out there, because each one of us is a different piece of the puzzle. And I've said this before, the more we put the puzzle pieces together, the more we're going to be able to see a better version of the whole picture. So keep that in mind. So let me just think here. What else is new on the website? Oh yeah, there's that whole Harlem Shake thing going on, right? Yeah, I'm sure you guys have heard about that. Well, we, the Paradigm Shift London crew, actually did our own Harlem Shake video. So that's another thing. And this is actually a little project that I want you guys to help me get a little more viral. So if you go to ParadigmShiftCentral.com, scroll down a little bit, you're going to see the Harlem Shake, or as I'm calling it, the Harlem Shift. So in that video, you're going to actually see, I mean, I don't even know if I have to explain the Harlem Shift, but, sorry, the Harlem Shake. Harlem Shake is an internet sensation that has pretty much replaced Gangnam Style, finally. And basically, it is a video where it's 15 seconds based around this music, and it's people who are sort of like, one person's dancing, other people are ignoring them, 15 seconds in, crazy explosion of craziness, everybody's dancing, hyper information coming into the brain, and your brain's just like, oh, this is awesome, this is so much information. So we made our own version of it, but the tagline that I'm sort of explaining is, and again, I don't want to spoil it for you, but go and check it out yourself, because ours is related around a group meditation. So there's been so many different styles of the Harlem Shake, and ours is a meditation group doing it. But rather than exploding outwards, we choose to explore inwards. So go and watch it, and you'll see it. Like I said, I don't want to spoil it. I want you to be able to see it for yourself. But there's still an explosion of information. I guarantee you that. So if you check out that Harlem Shake video, if you're listening to this, either check it out right now. It's only 30 seconds. You'll be able to check it out while still watching this episode, and share that, because if we can get that viral, then that's going to help redirect more people back to the Paradigm Shift Central website, and also be able to get them connected with the community show, get them tuned into the radio station, get them encouraged to start their own paradigm shift communities. And that's how you change the world, by connecting each other, by getting the grid strength. So with that said, I just got to mention a couple more things in terms of community news, and then we're going to bring on some callers. So if you're interested in calling into the show, please do so, and you can call into the host number by dialing 347-539-5493. Again, if you want to dial in with a regular phone, call in. You can call in now. I'm almost done the news here. Call in at 347-539-5493. Press 1 on your keypad, or dial in with Skype. If you're on the Blog Talk website, just scroll up a bit and you'll see the Skype icon. Click that. It'll log you in. Dial in through Skype. Press 1 again. And like I said, I want you guys to bring a topic to the show. And I'm sure there's a lot of interesting and different directions that we can take this in, but just be mindful that this is a family-friendly show, so let's keep it PG. And yeah, I mean, just be mindful. Like, try not to talk about anything too illegal, if you know what I mean. So, but what I was going to mention, I just want to mention in terms of like connections and collaboration and stuff like that, I just got to give some shout outs to some of the communities who have been helping Paradigm Shift get out there. So first of all, a big shout out to Collective Evolution. Collective Evolution is a team that brought you the Collective Evolution documentary, and a lot of you have probably seen that. They're a team, the majority of them is based out of Toronto, and I'm good buddies with them, and I just want to say thank you so much to them for helping share that, because they literally, if you go to Facebook.com/Collective Evolution page, like Collective Evolution page, that's Facebook.com/Collective Evolution page, that's the name of the address. Go there and you'll see the Paradigm Shift Radio image up on the top. Like, that's awesome, because there's like 100,000 people on that page. So hopefully some of those people are going to be redirected. And shout out to those people who are tuned into this show for the first time, who might not be like have heard of Paradigm Shift. Like, welcome to the family, right? Like, welcome to the party. Like, this is some pretty cool stuff that we got going on here, and we've been doing it for 35 weeks in a row. So that's some pretty cool stuff, and we're happy to have more people involved. So shout out to them. Check out their page, and I'll include the links in the show notes if you want to be able to connect more easily. Another shout out I gotta give. Shout out to Rainbow Warrior Community. So Facebook.com/pages/rainbow-warrior-community. But just run a search on the Facebook page, because their address is a little bit different. Run a search in the Facebook address bar for Rainbow Warrior Community, and you'll find it that way. It's a little bit easier that way, and I'll include the link again. And again, shout out to them. They've been sharing our stuff, so I just want to say, like, thank you so much for helping us get this information. Thank you for help strengthening the grid. Thank you for help building the community, because there's a lot of exciting stuff happening with Paradigm Shift that I just want to be able to get as much people involved as possible. But again, we don't want like a whole like overflow flood. Like, we have to understand that there's a process to this, there's a stepping process to this, and it's a slow and steady thing, and we're not in any rush. So the people who are tuned into the show, the people who know about it right now, are the people who are meant to know about it. But of course, we want to let more people know about it, right? So if you haven't yet, feel free to share some Paradigm Shift stuff. If you happen to have a page of your own, feel free to share some Paradigm Shift stuff, right? Like, that's just gonna help everybody. So another shout out to the Wave 1111. So Facebook.com/thewave1111. Been talking to them on and off for a while. They've shared some stuff in the past. Shout out to them. They actually have a radio show of their own that they do, so keep an eye on their page and tune into that. It's sometime during the middle of the week. I forget the details off the top of my head, but again, Facebook.com/thewave1111, as in the numbers 1111. So check out their stuff, and of course, big shout out to them. Another shout out to Facebook.com/Spirit Science and Metaphysics. So the buddy who's running that page, Stephen, he's actually part of he helped start up Paradigm Shift Cambridge, which is another Paradigm Shift community in Ontario, Canada. So shout out to him, and he's like doing a lot of things, and his posts are really cool. Like, he actually includes a lot of like scientific information and resources and links and references in some of his posts, and again, he's sort of bridging the gap between science and spirit and, you know, metaphysics. So check out Facebook.com/Spirit Science and Metaphysics, and they're actually teaming up. I know Stephen has actually sort of been in communication with the Spirit Science Facebook page, as in Jordan, and they're actually sort of doing some stuff there too. So it's going to be pretty cool to be able to see like all of us kind of helping bring all of us up together, right? Like, that's really what this is about. It's all about collaboration. So check out all of those links and check those communities, and I'll post some of those into the live chat. I just got to multitask a couple things, but I'll do that right now. So for the people in the live chat, I'm just going to post in a couple things there. So that said, I'm just going to give a couple more bits of information, and that's related to the latest Paradigm Shift communities. So I just got to mention these, and then we're going to go right into our callers. But I got to make sure that we have some callers ready to come in. So I see one caller who's ready in the queue right now, but I'm looking for more callers after that. So if you're thinking about calling in, even think about maybe you have a book that you want to share. So if you have some sort of information from a book, if you want to read a passage from a book, then do that. Like, just share it with us on air. Like, that's really what it's about. So it's sharing information that you deem to be useful and something that you want to help get out there. And again, it's just practice. Remember, it's all just practice. So keep that in mind. So shout out to the new Paradigm Shift communities. New Paradigm Shift communities are Paradigm Shift Ventura. So Ventura, Facebook.com/Paradigm Shift Ventura. They are in California, and like I said, that's the Paradigm Shift that Jenny is involved with, who put me in contact with Lucidity Festival, and that's how that whole thing unfolded. And I just gotta say, like, check out their stuff. They've actually, it's like, she does graphic design, which is a huge, like, that's awesome, because not every Paradigm Shift community has a graphic designer behind it. So she's got some really cool posters up there. So check out that stuff, and again, I'm posting that link into the live chat right now. And also check out, and of course, like the page, even if you aren't even in California. So other one is Paradigm Shift San Antonio, Texas. So if you happen to be in Texas, there's another one for you. There's actually a couple in Texas, but here's another one. So Paradigm Shift San Antonio, Texas, and shout out to Andrew, who is involved with that one. So again, like, if you aren't in the area, feel free to check it out. And if you're wondering whether or not there's a Paradigm Shift community in your area, then go to paradigmshiftcentral.com/directory, and you will see the global directory and the map. Specifically use the map, or just run a keyword search on your location and see what comes up. So, and check it out. I mean, maybe there is one in your area, and this is something I really like. It's really worth mentioning. If you see that there's a paradigm shift community in your area, and you sort of look at it and say like, like this Facebook page is not that active, then reach out and connect with them. Just because it might not be inactive doesn't mean that you're just like, oh, well, it's not happening. Okay, whatever. I tried. Like, no, you didn't try hard enough, frankly. So go out there, contact them, and say, hey, how can I help? Like, can I be an admin for your page? Do you mind if I sort of like share some of my content? And then be able to do that. So just be able to put your efforts out there, be able to help them, be able to collaborate with the people who have the same interest in you and who want to be able to bring new consciousness into this world. So that's pretty much all the information that I have. And also, of course, I'm sorry, Ross, of course, a shout out to another Facebook page that has been sharing this stuff. So Facebook to Ross, who I mentioned earlier, who has his own YouTube channel, he's got his own Facebook page, a Facebook group as well, and that is the title of it is facebook.com/openyourmind, but the title on the address bar is facebook.com/reviveyourmind. So REVIVEYOURMIND. So not that you need me to smell that, but Revive Your Mind, facebook.com/reviveyourmind. Check out those, and again, I'll include those on the show note links. So that's all the stuff that we got there. And if you have any other, and then another thing on the Paradigm Shift Central website, check out on the top right, there's another page up there called Cool Pages Worth Liking. So cool Facebook pages worth liking. There's a lot of cool pages out there, I'll tell you that. So go to that and check out and just scroll through. Like, there's more pages there than you even need, but I mean, there's so many pages out there. So just go through there on the page. You'll find pretty much, I think, the majority of the ones that I actually mentioned within the shoutouts. Yeah, I think all of them that I mentioned in the shoutouts. So Collective Evolution's there, Rainbow Warrior Community, Wave 1111, Spirit Science and Metaphysics are all there. So if you go to paradigmshiftcentral.com/pages, you'll find a whole single page of a bunch of Paradigm Shift communities all in one location. So with that said, guys, I'm ready to move on to some callers. Like, I mean, I need to take a breath here. No offense, but there's nobody else who's actually dialed in right now. So, guys, I know you are listening to this show. If you are shy, don't be shy. Feel free to call in, because we want to be able to make this community show exactly community. So I want to hear some people, what they have to say, what's new in their area, what sort of idea do they want. And I'm welcome to bring up some sort of idea that might be able to help push things forward. But like I said, I'm really just sort of killing time here until other people come onto the air. But another, what I've actually done in, hold on just one second, I'm just going to take a drink here. Okay, cool. I think we have somebody who's ready to come in to the air. But what I was going to say, cool way that I can use to guide this show, I actually have a book in front of me that's called 1001 Ways to Enlightenment, and it's really cool to be able to just like take a breath and open up that book to a random page and find a quote on there and then read that and then ask ourselves, what does that quote mean to me? So maybe we'll do that later in the show, whether it be with this book or some other book. That's really similar to like tarot. What is a tarot? Tarot is sort of like this moment where like we're starting to get into the knowledge here, we're starting to get into the information. This is just a little bit of tidbit of information. When you think about tarot is this moment where the universe sort of has the opportunity to communicate with you. So within like that quantum reality where you can't see the card, it's almost as if the card that you can't see exists as an infinite possibility of any of the cards that are within the deck. And within that moment that you sort of take a breath and you draw that card, the universe sort of has a quantum chance to show you that card that you need to see. It shows you that symbol that you need to see. In the same way that if you take a breath and just sort of allow yourself to open up to a page in a book, it will jump out to you with a certain passage if you're willing to read it, if you're willing to sort of like open up to that information. And you can do this by picking books off a bookshelf in the same way, and this also works in the same way with fortune cookies, which is something that when I was out in Vancouver, that was something that just sort of like started really opening me up to the idea of synchronicity, was when I started noticing that fortune cookies I was having were just eerily bang on. Like, I was just like, whoa, like this is, beyond coincidence. Like, what's going on here? Like, universe, like you're speaking right to me here. So, and I was paying attention, and it was very, very consistent. So again, like that quantum fortune cookie is just a really cool concept that I want you to sort of keep in mind, that within that quantum cookie, Sounds delicious. Within that quantum cookie, there's the infinite possibility of a particular message in there that's right for you at that time. So again, if you just think, it's just another cookie, crack it open, eat it, like, might not be that message. But if you're just like, all right, universe, like, I'm ready to receive some sort of message from you, now's your chance. There's a quantum variable in my hands. Like, what are you going to open it up and tell me? And then there you go. So keep that in mind when you're eating fortune cookies, when you're opening up books, random pages, and when you're working with tarot. So, all right, I'm going to bring on the first caller because we do have somebody in the queue, but we do want to hear some other people in the queue. And I'd like to be able to have as many callers as we can have on the show. We have until 1 a.m. to do this, and we will be doing a live meditation later in the show as well. So I'm sure there's a whole bunch of stuff that we can get into. Maybe we'll talk about, like, remote viewing. Like, that was something I was thinking about today. So if anybody has any crazy UFO experiences, if anybody wants to talk about some crazy astral experiences, if anybody has some practical tips, we always want to bring it back to practicality. Feel free to share that with us. So I'm going to bring on the first caller. So caller from area code 203. Feel free to brace yourself because you're about to come onto the air to Paradigm Shift Radio. So here we go. Hello, caller. Can you hear us?
Hello.
Hello. Hey, caller. How's it going?
Hey. How's it going? What's your favorite fortune cookie that you've ever had?
My favorite fortune cookie? Well, first of all, caller, can I ask you, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Jess, Connecticut.
Cool. Okay, I thought this was Jess. I had a feeling it was. So this is Jess from Paradigm Shift, Connecticut. So that's all right. I actually mentioned you started up the page not too long ago. So ParadigmShiftCentral.com or Facebook.com/ParadigmShift Connecticut for those who are listening, and I'll try and post a link for that into the live chat soon. My favorite fortune cookie that I ever got. Well, you know what? Like, I know. Do I have them on me somewhere? I know I have one. I just have a couple things. Like, I don't want to start moving stuff around right now. Oh, here, okay, hold on. Here they are. Found them. All right, let me pull. No, like literally, like they're actually within arm's reach of me. Okay, I'm just like browsing through them. Wow, I kind of forgot I had these. I'm glad you brought this up. Okay, here's one. Okay, you tell me, is this accurate? This fortune cookie is telling me that others see me as lively, friendly, and witty. Is this true?
Sometimes.
And then again, I just sort of pulled this. So hold on. I got like 15 fortune cookie like fortunes right in front of me. I'm just gonna do exactly what I said and pull like a tarot move and draw one particular one. Like that one was the one off the top. So let me just pull out of these like 15, like one of them, and then we'll just sort of reference off that one. So, what do we got? Oh, hold on. I dropped it. There we go. Okay. This one, so this one's, I think, relevant for all of us. It says, stop procrastinating, starting tomorrow. So,
oh, goodness.
That's definitely like a reflection of the ego, right? Like, ego is that sort of part of us that is always finding reasons for avoidance and desire, and I think, and talking about the ego is always an interesting topic in itself, but I mean, yeah, totally, like, that's a part that would rather avoid the hard work than actually doing it, and I think that's something that for anybody listening to the show, if you want to take a practical tip from this that you can apply into your life right now, if you have a situation in your life and you sort of think, like, what's the easy path and what's the hard path, take a moment to meditate on what the hard path is and then follow through with that, because that's going to be the one that's actually going to be more rewarding for you in the long run. I guarantee it. Despite the fact that it may seem a little daunting, the option is there for you to use your free will to choose it so that you have the chance to sort of make you stronger. So, but yeah, what do you think, Jess? What do you think? Are you a procrastinator?
Half what, sometimes. It depends on what you consider procrastinating, you know?
True. Cool. Well, other than talking about procrastinating all day, we can just sit here talking about procrastinating all day long if we want to, but that sort of be ironic, I guess. What other topics, any sort of particular ideas, thoughts, and questions that you might want to bring on to the show?
I'll start with my elementary school. My grandmother, I found like a huge, ginormous scrapbook filled with like all these UFO clippings that she kept like throughout the years around here. Yeah, she saw like a UFO over my elementary school before I was born or something.
Oh, really? Can you tell us?
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that? I'm sure she's told you a little bit about it, eh?
Yeah, she said it was just like a huge, like she couldn't really tell what it was because she was all the way like up the hill. It's like you could like see the school from the hill, and it was this huge green object that was just kind of spinning. That was just kind of like flat, and she said it didn't look like
Really?
Made of metal or anything. And like I've seen something like that down there, and like something like that like on the other side of town. We have like they build helicopters like really really close to here too. So.
Okay. But it definitely wasn't a helicopter. You don't, I mean...
What's that? It's definitely not a helicopter, but it would make sense that why it would be so close,
So it was near some sort of air base, you think? Is that what you're saying?
Well, like, everything, if you think about, like, everything being, like, alchemy, it's, like, they're kind of creating, like, planes, like, different, like, planes of perception through creating planes there. So, like, the people there can be, like, transmitting energy into the planes that they have and they build to like cause things like that. I don't know. I've just thought way weird things about it like that. I don't know.
Now you said like you've how many UFOs have you seen before that you think you've seen?
Well, I mean they were identified. They were there, so it's hard to call them like anything. But it like
But you didn't know what they were.
Yeah, like green orbs. I see green orbs a lot around here. There's actually a ginormous one that they said that was like the size of a car that fell into a lake, like in Connecticut, a little bit higher up from around here. I don't know exactly where.
Wait,
I don't know.
Connecticut's
again? Weird. Connecticut's weird, and like new towns get added all the time. It's really weird. I don't. And it's it was like it was more north to me because I'm like at like the tail, like I'm closer to like New York City than the top of Connecticut.
So have there been like other people who who sort of like openly talk about some like strange sightings that they've sort of seen in your area?
Well, yeah, on occasion. I brought up, the green orbs to like a bunch of my friends, and then they all saw one with me. And
really?
like it was just really interesting. Yeah, but there are a lot of weird things that go on around here, but we're so close to so much different sort of energy, like New York's such a crazy host in itself, and I'm like an hour away from there, and like we build helicopters. But like the first thing you see when you drive into my town is literally a huge building that like is called Inline Plastics. So I don't know, you know what I mean? I don't know what they build there. But yeah.
Yeah, sounds like a conspiracy within a conspiracy, if you ask me. So.
I don't know.
Well, I
don't know. It's a conspiracy anymore,
Yeah,
like,
really. Eh? Yeah. Pretty hard to tell these days, but
I think that was the first time I actually heard someone from Canada say that. That's kind of interesting. Yeah.
Live on air. It does happen.
Yeah.
I know. It's Cool. Yeah, I mean, like, UFOs are, like, always something that I'm super interested in. And I think, if you were to actually legitimately take a survey, there's probably, I'm just sort of thinking, okay, like, out of all the people, I mean, I guess it's depending on an area. You'd almost have to, like, take a survey by state and sort of get statistics individually. But it would be really interesting to do that, to get, like, some sort of data where it'd be, like, you survey the people in a state and say, like, have you seen some sort of UFO, quote unquote, and then just to see, like, how many people literally have, because I think it's a lot more than we actually sort of admit, and it's sort of those things that, like, some people might sort of see it and then they're just like, a month later they're just like, nah, like they just like literally push it out of their memory sort of thing, and it doesn't really like stick with them. But then with some people, like when you see those UFOs, like there's almost a little bit of a deeper meaning, because it sort of sparks something in some people that sort of starts, it opens them up to start asking questions. And I think that's a really, perhaps one of the reasons why UFOs are sort of in this reality. So, if someone say is a very fundamental, very sort of like logic idea, and then suddenly this UFO appears in front of them, there's like, whoa, like this is completely not within my textbook, and the whole experience happens, and it just leaves them very like energetically, in like something sort of changed within them, and then from there they start doing more research, and they start asking more questions, and they start like going deeper down that rabbit hole sort of thing. So I mean, I think that's like one of the sort of practical ideas behind UFO sightings. So if you were to think like, okay, if I was like one of the aliens so to speak, quote unquote, and think like, how can we sort of get the humans to wake up without actually having to like walk up to them and like slap them in the face, sort of thing. It's like, oh, we'll just give them a quick flyby, we'll just like shake them up just a little bit, right, and then just do that, make themselves visible without actually giving some sort of definite answer to what's actually happening, but just enough to leave them sort of scratching their chin and just be like, whoa, like, this is something that my government is not telling me about, like, therefore I want to find out more. And then who knows, like, which path that will take them in, but potentially it might take them in the direction of sort of opening up to, like, ideas of, like, multidimensional reality and things like that. So, but yeah, I think
definitely. Like, if you, like, think of, like, how nothing's really outside of yourself, there has to be, like, some reason that would appear in your vision, you know what I mean? Like, there could be things going on all around us that we just can't perceive as being there, so we just kind of, like, dense it out of, like, perception, you know what I mean? And, like, with stuff like that, like, I've asked people, if they've seen anything like that before, and they're like, oh yeah, sort of, but I've seen like red ones, and then it got me thinking, like maybe people see different colored orbs depending on like what chakra they're really representing, you know what I mean, at the time. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, like I found that like an interesting concept of like what like orbs or like those big shiny things you see in the sky that like glitter out in a billion different colors and fade away, like I don't know. Something take into consideration.
Like I've sort of almost had this idea that perhaps certain UFOs are maybe only visible to certain people. So you could almost get like a crowd of people, and then like within that crowd, maybe only 2 or 3 of them are looking up and being like, "Hey, does anybody else see that?" or something. It's like something to do with wave spectrums. Like it's on a certain vibration that they are able to perceive, but others don't. And then by the UFOs sort of like slightly changing their vibration, or the humans slightly changing their vibration, it makes a difference between it being like visible in terms of sight and invisible sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, UFOs, we've talked about UFOs in the past on the show, but I mean, it's always a topic that I've really been interested in, especially ever since I saw my own UFO in a point where like I couldn't deny it. For me, because I mean, obviously I'd heard about UFOs. Obviously I listened to Coast to Coast AM growing up and stuff, and sort of shout out to Coast to Coast AM, because I mean that's a big inspiration for sort of what we're doing here, and I hope people listening here sort of get a similar idea. I mean, when you think about Coast to Coast, you get a lot of people calling in. Like that's kind of what we're doing here with Paradigm Shift Radio, just sort of grassroots. So again, people listening to this, we want to hear more people calling in. So right now, you're listening to this, before I continue further just with what I was about to say, feel free to call into the show so that we can jump off to another caller once me and Jess sort of like move on, and sort of, because we want to be able to do that. We want to make room for more callers. So maybe while we're on the topic of UFOs, let's sort of do that. If you are a person who's listening to the show right now who wants to share some sort of UFO experience, please do that. Call into the show, share it, so that we can talk about it, so that we can start gathering this data and start putting it together and start trying to make sense of it. So what I was going to say, though, with my experience with my UFO sighting, like prior to me actually seeing it, I mean, I'd always heard about UFOs. I'd always like seen information on the internet, but it's not like they weren't actually in my reality. It was still something that I was speculating. It was still something I was like, oh, okay, like I've heard people talk about them, but until I actually saw it for myself to a point that was like undeniable, I was like, oh, okay, like now it's in my reality, like, and the thing that's interesting with a lot of this paradigm shifty stuff, and I'm sure some people will be able to account for this who are listening to this show, the universe, like when you start getting into this stuff, the universe, like when you start looking into that void, so to speak, not in a negative way, but like it starts looking back at you. Like the universe starts like responding back to you. So if you start asking all these questions about UFOs, then perhaps that's going to open you up to the possibility of seeing a UFO in that future, because you're sort of like aligning yourself with that reality, that one of many realities. But I think with UFOs, we sort of have to keep in mind the idea that there can be a variety of UFOs. I mean, there can be the UFOs that are physical craft, that are something that are more than likely government-made, which are typically the triangle crafts, but I'm sure they have other versions now. And I think that's actually most likely what I saw. Like what I saw, and I'll just quickly recap, because it's been a few episodes since I mentioned this story, but for people listening, just so you get an idea of what I'm talking about, with my story of what I saw a triangle-shaped UFO decloak right over top of me, and like exactly, right? Like it was like 3 lights in a corner, like scary stuff, right? Like, it sounds kind of scary.
No, like, seriously, I was just thinking about the time that I was in my driveway with my friend Dan, and that exact thing went over, like, the house.
Oh, you saw a triangle one too?
Yeah, and it, like, made a weird sound when it went through the air. It was like it was held up by its own, like, flame, sort of, you know what I mean?
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
It was, like, triangle, and then it had, like, in each corner it had, like, you know, I don't know what you would call them.
Yeah, like thrusters or lights or like hover propulsion technology of some sort. But yeah, like when I saw mine, it was at night and it was actually during a lightning storm, so there was like crazy electrical disturbances in the air, which I think is part of the reason why I saw it.
Yeah.
And that's the crazy part behind my story, is that like it was like hugely synchronistic behind me seeing it. Like I just happened to be in the right place at the right time for this thing to decloak right over top of me, because I don't think it intentionally decloaked over top of me. Like I think something happened within its like computing or within its like equipment accidentally caused it to uncloak. And I couldn't, since it was dark, what I could see 3 lights in a triangle shape moving parallel above my head, no more than like 100 meters above my head, probably lower than that, so it was quite close to the ground, and it was moving from right to left, and I watched it for a good like 5-6 seconds, and it just went off into the distance, and I was with another person, and that person saw it too, so I mean I wasn't just, you know, by myself and hallucinating, or if not, it would be very hard for me to convince people of this story if I had seen it by myself, right? It's just like, oh, sure you did, Brendon, like that sounds like great material for the radio show. I bet you did see it. No, I really did see it, guys. I really did. So, but yeah, but one of the things that was interesting about my particular UFO sighting, one of the lights, it was like glitching out. Like it looked like a glitch in the Matrix. Like it wasn't, the two of the lights were solid, like it just solid. And then one of the lights, like literally, it was like it looked like a video game glitch. Like that's the best way I can describe it. It was kind of like twitching on and off and stuff. It wasn't flickering on and off. It was like phasing in and out of reality on and off or something like that. So, but again, like I think those UFOs are USA crafts particularly, and that's something that, you know, it sort of gets into this idea of like what technology do they have that they are obviously not telling us about, because I mean that ties in with the whole free energy thing, right? Like there's a lot of information out there that talks about how hover technology and free energy technology does exist, but obviously they're keeping it repressed for the sake of like making money and controlling the population and stuff. So they got to keep this stuff, you know, like sort of black government projects. They got to keep this stuff in secret, sort of thing. So yeah, it's always just really interesting, and who knows like when that will sort of get disclosed. But it's always interesting to think that they're actually like humans in the same way, you know, like people like me and you who are involved with these projects but are like sworn to secrecy. Like could you imagine if you were just like sort of like going through school one day and then somebody contacted you and just be like, hey, how would you like to be involved with some sort of secret government project where you can't tell anybody about it, and we're probably going to have to like keep you in a secret bunker for the next 20 years, you know? Like that happens. Like there's people who are actually involved with that, and I would love to be able to get someone who's maybe had that experience call into the show sometime. If you're listening to the show from an underground bunker and involved with secret government projects, we want to hear from you. So, anyways, yeah.
Oh man.
So there's the triangle UFOs that are probably that are most likely government craft, and when I saw that UFO, the real thing that really just stuck with me, that just like, you know, really just kind of stuck in my mind, was the question of where was it coming from and where was it going. You know, I'm like, this thing is not landing at an airbase. Where the heck is this thing going? And I even got into the idea, I'm like, ooh, like maybe they have like secret air bases that are invisible, you know, like or the underground bases idea, or maybe they're in the water or something. So I mean, I think that's just because I mean, who knows where it's coming from? Maybe it had flown like thousands and thousands of miles. But I mean, the fact that there was a UFO in London, Ontario, Canada, I was like what the heck is going on, right? Like I mean, I know like our mayor is not financing those projects. You know, like where has that been coming from? Where is it going? Like was that an American UFO flying over Canadian soil, or was that a Canadian UFO? Like I mean, I don't know. If it was a Canadian UFO, there'd probably be like some really stereotypical Canadian symbolic thing on it. I don't know.
You're a UFO. Shit.
Yeah, just like, I don't know, like it decloaks. I'm just like, hey, is that a canoe floating in the air above us? Be like, oh yeah, it's a Canadian UFO. So bad Canadian joke there. So, but yeah, so I mean, so there's the physical UFOs, and then there's also like the other UFOs that would be like more out of this world, which may not even be physical, so to speak, but may actually be like light beings who have their light body activated and are traveling multidimensionally through dimensions and are like Merkaba activated ascended masters and moving around and stuff. And we've talked about that in the show. But again, Jess, I want to hear what any more thoughts that you sort of have on UFOs or experiences or such.
I don't know. Well, hold on, because there's a whole group of people downstairs, and I just want to ask them if they've seen any UFOs. Just
You need a UFO? Do they know you're on the video show?
Hey guys, have you ever seen a UFO before? Tell them about the time you saw a UFO. Wait, no, it's not. Yeah, do it.
Wait, I've never seen one. Have you ever seen you?
I bet my brother has. I bet for sure he has. Oh, well. They're all too...
Fair. Yeah, no, I hear.
Oh, what's that?
No, it's cool. We don't need to hear whether or not they're hitting bongs in your basement or anything like that. So.
Shit. How do you know these things? Like, what?
I'm from the future. I know a lot of things. It's all right. But what I was going to say, yeah, like, I bet so many people have seen UFOs, and it's just not being talked about in so many ways, right? So, yeah.
And, like, I brought it up once to someone who, like, saw it with me because I, like, told him about how I saw one at Sunnyside, and he was like, oh, sorry, Sunnyside's my elementary school. And he said, oh, it was probably caused because of the traffic or something. And I was like, what? Like, what do you mean by that? But, like, he always has, like, riddles for everything. And then, like, he saw it with me with, like, 5 other people, and then, like, he still said, like, 2 months later, like, who knows, it could have just been caused by traffic, and I was like, oh, well, traffic can also mean, like, like, network trafficking as well, like, just, like, builds of energy that just, like, transmute outside,
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
I don't know.
Interesting. Cool.
Yeah.
All right, well,
it's, like, almost like people, like, block them out, too. It's weird.
Yeah, no, like we were saying, like certain people, like it's like not actually visible to them. Like there's, they have like there's I don't know if you want to say like their third eye isn't open enough, then maybe that's a term you can use. But yeah, like who knows, right? So it's something we're still just trying to piece together, and maybe there will come the day where it's just going to be like super blatant. But I don't know. I think it's going to remain to be fairly covert for quite a while. Actually, it was interesting because Russia was like talking about how they like the president of Russia. This is, some of you might have heard about this. The president of Russia openly talked about like how there actually is like a secret government project, and they actually know about UFOs, and they're actually trying to get the USA to admit that they have like been in contact with like aliens and stuff like that. Like this is the Russian prime minister like talking about this stuff. And then a little while ago, they were saying, like, if the USA, if America does not admit that they saw UFOs, then we are going to disclose it to the world. And then this was, like, not too long ago, and then they got hit by a meteorite. So,
oh, God.
So I don't know if, like, maybe that meteorite was, like, some sort of, maybe that was, like, a weapon by one of the other countries. Like, could you imagine? Because, I mean, in the same way that we can, like, create, like, artificial earthquakes and stuff, maybe we're starting to use, like, artificial meteorites that were like thrown back and forth at each other. So,
oh goodness!
Scary thought. Anyways, so shout out to all our friends in Russia who survived the meteor strike. So I don't know.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, cool. All right, well, Jess.
I can't believe it hit a zinc factory though. That's like the craziest part.
Makes you zinc. That was a good point.
Dude.
Okay, cool. Jess, we're gonna move on to some other couple callers soon. Do you have anything else that you just want to mention before we move on?
No. Pass on.
Yeah, go to facebook.com/ParadigmShiftConnecticut is what I think people have to do. So if anybody in that area, go check it out and help Jen. I know she's got some really cool. Sorry, Jess. I know she's got some really cool stuff that she's a.
I was supposed to be named Jen.
Oh really? Okay. Well,
yeah,
I guess I wasn't
last second, my dad was like, "No." What's that?
So I wasn't wrong then. Cool. All right, okay. So all right, Jess. Well, it was good hearing from you again, and we'll be in touch. Cool.
Yeah,
all right. Take care. Bye.
You too.
All right, guys. So again, that was Jess from Paradigm Shift, Connecticut. So yeah, no, you can tell like right now we're just having like fun, casual talk on the show. And like I said, every episode's kind of different, and it's really different depending on who's on the air. And sort of each episode's kind of got like a different vibe kind of thing. But right now, like we're just sort of relaxing, and like I said, just imagine like we're just like in a room hanging out on a Saturday night. Though actually, within 1 minute, technically it's going to be Sunday. So, this is actually a big moment. That moment when we transition from Psychic Saturday into Psychedelic Sunday. So get ready for it. Get ready for it. Here it comes. Any second now. So, wow, that actually, holy crap. Like literally, my clock on my computer literally just changed to 12 as I made that noise. I'm not joking. Oh, well, yeah, I guess my intuitive psychic abilities are improving, so perfect. Cool. All right, well, I'm going to bring on the next caller. So caller from area code 221. Oh, actually, okay, this is interesting. Hold on. Caller from area code 2216. Where? Like, I think that's near me. But then there's another caller who's actually calling in from 519, which actually is the area code that I'm in. So I'm really interested to bring them on, but I'm not going to let them jump the line. So caller from area code 519, stay on the air because I'm curious to see where you're from. You may be from like the Windsor area or whatever. And in the meantime, we're going to bring on caller from area code 226 and maybe talk about some more UFOs. Because trust me, southwestern Ontario is a hot spot for UFOs. Believe me. So caller from area code 226. Get ready to come onto the air. Here we go. Come on. There we go. Hey, hello, caller. Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Hey, caller. What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Rebecca Croden, and I'm calling from my bedroom on with all the lights out, and I'm just listening to the radio show through my phone.
Cool. And yeah, like in your bedroom in London, Ontario as well. So, wow, this is, I wonder if the next person's going to be from London too. So, Rebecca is, she's actually been on the show in the past, and she's part of Paradigm Shift London, and she helped start up Paradigm Shift in Muskoka back in the day. So, cool, Rebecca, welcome to Paradigm Shift Radio once again. Anything in particular that you want to bring to the show tonight?
You're putting me on the spot here, Brendon.
Well, what did you expect? Like, what?
I know, I did call in. Well, we were talking about my Salvia kind of experience.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. Do you want to talk about that? Okay, cool. Yeah, no, Salvia is totally legal, so we can like absolutely talk about that without any repercussion or anything like that. So, yeah, like last Friday, it was interesting because last Friday, I'm just gonna set the scene here. Last Friday, Rebecca, not on Friday itself, a couple days before that, she had a Salvia experience, and then we were out and about that evening after a Paradigm Shift meeting, and I filmed video footage like on the spot. I was like, "Hey, Rebecca, tell me about your Salvia experience," and I filmed it, but I wasn't fully planning on putting it on the internet, but I didn't put it on the internet, and not maybe I will, maybe I won't, but yeah, within that time, I'm sure she sort of had some more time to sort of process it. So yeah, Rebecca, so okay, obviously Salvia, for those of you who have no idea, Salvia divinorum is a plant that can be smoked the same way you can smoke it out of a pipe at a bowl, and yeah, it has been used in traditional like shamanic type ceremonies, and it's quite psychedelic, you could say. There's different degrees of intensity, different times that you can get it in, and it's legal. You can buy it down at your variety store in most cases. So yeah, Rebecca, tell us a little bit about your Salvia experience and what you got out of it.
Well, that day I went into like a head shop, and the girl there was really helpful and told me about Salvia, and I knew a little bit about it beforehand, but when I came home, I looked at a few blogs from people who had experiences with Salvia, and they all seemed a little bit different. I mean, some people had completely hallucinogenic experiences where they saw like elves jumping around or something like that. You know what I mean?
Of course.
So, my experience, I didn't really know what to expect. The last time I did it was in high school, and it was just totally, like, weird for me because I couldn't talk. I just fell back, and I just felt like it wasn't that good of an experience, so I didn't know what to expect this time. And I just went into it with the intention to learn something from it because I believe that, like, that plant that you inhale, it will give you something if you're seeking that, right? So I smoked it, and at first I was just kind of funny about it, and as I got more serious later on in the trip, I closed my eyes, meditated a bit, and I kind of had this realization that as soon as you speak words, the total truth is then lost, was my epiphany. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Still going? Yes. I mean, go ahead.
Yeah, I can keep going. Just you can speak truth, scientific truth, but I don't know. I guess my epiphany was that exactly. That truth, the word truth doesn't even justify what truth really is.
Mhm. Yeah, it's the thing with Salvia, and I can honestly say I haven't experienced Salvia myself, and I'm not at liberty to disclose what I have and have not experienced on the internet. But one thing that's interesting about Salvia is the fact that it is legal, and that's something that has always sort of interested to me, because when you think about psychedelics are something that the government is no, we don't want you to go near them because they're going to open up your mind to ideas that sort of shift your paradigm and might convince you of the fact that the man doesn't have the best interest in you. And, it sort of starts to realize, they're like, wait a second, this society is ass backwards, right? If you're talking about things like mushrooms and stuff like that. Whereas, though, with any situation with psychedelics, one thing that we always have to keep in mind is that our intentions going into it, our thoughts going into it, our environment and our energy going into it are going to be amplified and create that experience that we have. So if you were to go into a psychedelic experience super depressed and super angry, you're going to trip. It's not going to be a fun time for you unless you really go through an ego death and pull yourself out of it. But that might be the experience that you've chosen for yourself. So what is interesting for me with Salvia, the fact that it's legal, it almost seems like it's intentionally there to sort of theoretically push some people off psychedelics. So say there's some kid in high school, and obviously he smokes marijuana and stuff like that. He's never done mushrooms, and he's like, oh, Salvia, this is okay, sure, I'll go, it's right here in the store, I'm going to buy it. And then he goes home and he does it, and he trips the funk out, and it just totally freaks him out, and he's like, oh my god, that was such a horrible experience for me, in my own opinion, and I am not touching psychedelics again. And then it sort of moves him away from other things, or at least within that time frame. So it's just really interesting that out of all the psychedelics, that one is legal, considering it is so potent yet also so chaotic.
Where did you come up with this theory, Brendon?
In my head. Well, it's just I mean, why is it legal, right? Why is Salvia legal? I saw a few from a couple sources. I don't know how reliable they were, but that Salvia actually became illegal. And then when I told someone I did Salvia, they're like, "What? I thought Salvia became illegal all of a sudden." But obviously, there's always loopholes, and it's easy to get past those. Yeah.
But,
yeah.
I don't know. It's more. I don't know. People have houseplants, Salvia houseplants.
That's true. Yeah, you might have Salvia in your house right now if you're listening to the show. It's quite possible. But yeah, so in terms of your experience, because we were kind of talking about this on the video and stuff like that. How did the experience itself open you up to more of an understanding or an idea of unity and oneness and the fractal nature of reality, so to speak?
Brendon, it did, and it did for sure. I felt like when I looked at myself in the mirror that it was just my veil for this lifetime. I don't know really. It's hard to describe it in words, and just as I was saying, it's so hard to
words.
The full truth of it into words, which was one of my epiphanies. But I felt lucid almost, when you have a lucid dream and you don't feel fully in your body, and Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what more I can say. Definitely, I felt like the oneness and,
Yeah, like, I think, I mean, you know, depending on your perception, like, there is this idea that, like, this body that we're in is just sort of like clothes. And when we die, we literally, like, change our clothes and put on a new set of clothes. And the real self is, like, the part within us, you know, the part that sort of wears the clothes sort of thing. So, yeah, like, sometimes you can do this without being on anything. But when you're on psychedelics, it sort of, like, really sort of brings you to a different perception of those moments when you look at yourself and just be like, wow, like, that's me? Like, that's, you know, that's me, like, that's who I am. Like, no, like, that's not entirely who I am. Like, that's just who I am this time around sort of thing, right? And it's sort of, you're almost
like
above
right?
yourself.
It's like your tool to get by, like, in this world, like, like, whether you're considered socially acceptable as pretty, ugly, like, it doesn't even matter because we actually are all one, but we're human, so people are going to have judgments, and yeah, we're confined to this physical body, this physical reality. So it's like not a bad thing for sure.
No.
Must be a reason we're here. We're here to learn, as a lesson. Totally.
Yeah, and I mean, if you were to break it down to one thing, like, why are we here? Like, we're here to learn. Like, I think that's the absolute reason, and we have to remember that even when we're going through, like, those situations where it feels like it's a crappy situation, we have to think, like, what am I learning from this? Or maybe the better question is, what am I not learning from this, to sort of help us sort of restructure the way we're perceiving that moment, to say, like, hey, you know, like, even though this may appear as a negative situation, like, there's still something positive that I can get out of it. And I say this before and again, but mistakes are only mistakes if you don't learn anything from them. So, you know, it's a chance in every situation to be able to take in a new experience and to be able to learn from that. And what you were saying about the body and being able to sort of identify it that way, like, that's part of this whole paradigm shift that's happening right now. Like, I mean, I'm sure even all of us who were listening to the show, at some point in our life, there was a moment where we were convinced that I'm Brendon, you're Rebecca, we're two different people, and, you know, like, Joe over there is another person, and this whole illusion of separateness, and you know, that's how society sort of compartmentalizes things. But then we start to begin to open up to this idea that, like I said, like, these bodies are vehicles, and what's actually more closer to the truth is the fact that we are soul, if you want to use that term, meaning that we've actually come here from somewhere else, and that somewhere else, like, is the higher dimensions, and the higher dimensions are, like, where we actually return to every night when we sleep. And it's so interesting when you think about people sort of
go
ahead.
Yeah, it's funny because, like, you can say like, we are oneness, but we aren't just oneness. We also are separate. So there's no, like, definite truth. It's, like, I kind of lost what I was trying to say there, but, like, I kind of lost it, but, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, words, right? Like, here we are, like, on the radio trying to talk about the ineffable, so we're doing the best we can, and like I said, a reminder to everybody who's listening to this, like, this is all just practice. Like, I mean, these are the conversations that we don't usually get to have, like, out in normal public conversations with normal situations, so this is our chance to sort of try to put the ineffable reality around us into some sort of comprehensible understanding so we can talk about it. But yeah, like, I mean, that's the thing, like, there is the immediate perception that where things sort of appear separate, but then when you sort of go up a level, you understand that, like, each one of us is, like, a greater extension of the whole, and even when you sort of, like, think about the whole, like, microcosm macro thing, you know, like, when you think about, like, the cells in our body, like, you have all these cells sort of working individually kind of thing, but then you go up one level and you realize those cells are, like, the working parts of the entire body, and you know, you wouldn't identify a person to say, like, oh, that person is made up of 100 billion cells. Like, that person is a person. That person is the sum whole of those people. And in the same way, the whole human experience is the sum whole of all the people who are experiencing it, which means that each and every one of us, like, through the experiences that we're having and learning and sharing from, like, it's adding to the collective. Like, what happens in your mind is not just within your mind. And this is a very interesting idea. What happens in your mind is connected to a higher oversoul, a higher consciousness, and it's like almost like an internet connection. So whatever you experience is going right into the data bank of the universe, and it's sort of storing it and saying, all right, there's another lesson for me. Like, how do I sort of move myself forward from it? So, I mean, you might feel that what you're doing is just stuck within your own reality, but keep in mind that everything that we do is being collectively added to the evolution of our entire species, so to speak. So
yeah, that's interesting. This is a little bit off topic, but I mean it's on topic in the sense that, well, today we were doing an action today with Council of Canadians, which is an activist group, and there's a chapter here in London, and we got an ad in the paper for Stop CETA, and CETA is the Comprehensive Economic European Trade Agreement, and Harper, along with a lot of other conservative people and corporate, they want to sell off our natural resources, like in their public services. So we were out and telling people about this, and people seemed like deeply concerned more than usual today. And I think it's because people are starting to wake up and realize that, like, our government is screwing us over hard. We don't trust them anymore. People are losing their jobs, and people are wanting to do something about it, I'm feeling. Like, I think that we're on the verge of some major action, and hopefully effective action, if we can find unity within it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, so much of the sort of disharmony within our culture is caused by a lack of proper communication. And, like, even when you think about, like, how does cancer develop? Like, cancer sort of develops when, like, the cells stop communicating with the cells around them. So, I mean, are we going to allow ourselves to, like, let these cancers within our culture sort of grow? Like, no, we have to sort of stop feeding them. First of all, stop feeding them, like, the stuff that's causing them to grow, and sort of, like, reestablish, like, a new form of communication that will help reconnect them with, like, the healthier stream of nutritions that are coming through the other parts of the body, the greater body, the political and economic body as well. So
yeah, it's overcoming that fear to be, like, the odd one out. But because, like, that 1 billion rising the other day in City Plaza here in London.
Oh, did you do that? Did you do that?
Yeah, I went.
Awesome.
And at first, it started off with, like, I heard a drum beat, so I went over and, like, okay, it's starting. But it started off with just a few people, and people walking by in City Plaza were kind of looking. They're like, huh, what's going on over here? And, yeah, it's, like, started off small and just got bigger and bigger, because obviously more people were coming out to the event later on, but it was just really powerful and had really good feedback. So
that's wicked. Like, I didn't really get a chance to, like, mention that off the top of the show, but I mean, like, that's a really cool thing that just happened globally, everywhere, that everybody may or may not have heard about, the whole 1 billion rising thing, which was, like, women standing up and taking action against, like, violence against women, which is a very important thing. So no, that's cool. I'm glad to hear that you're involved with that. So cool.
Yeah.
Right on. All right. Now, Rebecca, I do have another person. Yeah, we'll probably just keep things moving along. Is there anything else that you'd like to mention before we move on to the next caller?
I'd just like to urge people to call, like, their MPPs, especially conservative ones. And, well, before doing that, just look up what CETA is, the Comprehensive Economic European Trade Agreement, because I feel it's really important. This isn't, like, totally paradigm shift stuff. It's a little off topic, but I mean, yeah, just look it up. StopCETA.ca, www.stopceta.ca, and just contact your MPPs, especially the conservative ones, because they're the ones that want this. And the more people who do it, the better.
Cool. All right, well, that's a good idea. So. Awesome. All right, Rebecca, I'll put your information in the show notes if people want to add you, and maybe you can tell them a little bit more about that or just other ways. I'm sure, you know, like, each one of us the big part of the show is that, this is about being able to create more leaders. It's leaders creating other leaders. So, I mean, when people hear about you doing stuff, it helps them sort of break out of their shell and think, what's holding me back? What's stopping me from getting involved with things, whether it be like 1 billion rising or even just being more politically and actively involved, and also just, spiritually and mentally involved. So, if I'll put your information in the show notes. So anybody who wants to contact Rebecca, if you're sort of felt that you resonated with her, then feel free to do that once the episode goes up on YouTube as well. So cool. All right, Rebecca. So thanks for calling into the show. It was good hearing from you as per usual. So cool.
Yeah.
All right. Say goodbye. Say goodbye to the internet.
Bye, internet.
All right. See you later, Rebecca. Cheers. Okay, cool. So again, that was Rebecca from Paradigm Shift London, and she's been involved with the community here for quite some time. So very cool, and it's cool to hear that she's involved with all sorts of other stuff. And that's the big thing, is that with Paradigm Shift communities, it's not something that you sort of like have to be compartmentalized to. Like, it's not something you have to be pinned down to. Like, you get people in Paradigm Shift communities who are already doing all sorts of awesome stuff in their own area. So pretty cool. All right, so I'm going to bring on the next caller, and I saw there was a few other callers who were calling into the air, and there's a couple of them dropped. So if you guys do want to call in again, please feel free to do that. And we'll do the meditation around 12:30, 12:40, depending on the flow of things, and we'll go from there. Another thing that I just got to mention, just because it sort of reminded, I was just talking to someone off to the side, and I just got reminded of it. In terms of future episodes coming up for the Paradigm Shift Radio, hold on, just got 1 second here. Got to check a website address. Okay, cool. So in terms of future episodes coming up to within Paradigm Shift Radio, one thing that I got to mention, some of you may already heard about this. There is a new documentary series coming out called the Bloom Series. Now, this documentary is about transformational festivals, and it is a team who has been traveling around for quite some time. They've been documenting all sorts of transformational festivals. A really very cool team, very, very high quality footage, very worthwhile stories that are important to get out there to show people what sort of future we're moving towards and what cultures we're helping collectively create. So the Bloom Series is on Facebook at facebook.com/The Bloom Series, and we will be having some of the people involved with that production on the show in the future. The tentative date is going to be around March 16th. So, I mean, it's not for a while from now, but I just wanted to let you guys know so that you can check that out in the meantime, and I'll include that in the show notes. So again, facebook.com/The Bloom Series, BLOOM, and check out their trailers. I got some really amazing footage out there, and I'm sure some of you have probably already heard about it. So there we go, guys. All right, I'm going to bring on the next caller, and let's keep rolling with this. Like, I'm having a good time here. And actually, let me just, before I bring on the next caller, because I meant to ask this earlier in the show. Everybody who's in the live chat right now, do me a favor, type your location. Say where you're from. Say, like, just state, or, just say, like, town or state or whatever, or even country if you're outside of North America, and just let us know, because I want to be able to just, like, give a quick shout out to all the different places that we have people listening to the show from, to sort of reiterate the fact that we are, in fact, a global network of people involved with this. So I'm already getting people responding from this. So we got people from Paloi, Paoli, in India. Is that? I'm not sure if that's abbreviation for India or not, or it might be Indianapolis. That's probably more sense. And someone's from Nova Scotia. Ross is from Dresden, and we got people from Toronto, other people from Toronto, a couple people in Ontario, a couple people in Erie, Pennsylvania, South California, people in New York, Bronx, New York, and Winter Haven, Florida, London. I wonder if that's London, Ontario, or London, UK. We always get a little bit of a mix-up. And people from Indiana as well. So thank you guys for responding to that. And just anybody else who's in the live chat, just feel free to put in some stuff. And Fort Myers, Florida as well. We got some people calling in. So very cool to see all of us tuned in here once again. And I will mention that after the show wraps up, in terms of Blog Talk, we'll do another Google Hangout, and that's something that if you maybe wanted to get onto the show and for some reason weren't able to get onto the show, feel free to check out the Google Hangout, and we'll post the links for that on the Facebook page at facebook.com/Paradigm Shift Radio. And if you haven't liked that Facebook page, please check it out, please like it, and get involved with the Google Hangout. So there's a limited amount of space that we can have in terms of people fitting in, but you will be able to watch it on YouTube, and that will go on probably for a couple hours as well. And again, that's just more sort of like like casual discussion and just more practicing of sharing ideas and conversation. So that's really why we're here. This is really all just practice so that we can gain more confidence in being able to talk about some of these paradigm shifty topics and take new ideas, new consciousness, new attitude, new confidence with us out into our surrounding communities and out into our day-to-day lives. So thank you to everyone who has been listening to this so far. And again, just if you want to add me on Facebook, I mean, I know I've said this before, but facebook.com/skullbabylon. I'm always looking for more people to connect with on Facebook, and I want to hear about things that you're doing. If you have music that you want to share with me, if you're an artist, if you make videos, please send them my way. I'm more than happy to check them out and share them. And also, if you, what was I going to say? Weird, I just had a brain fart. Weird. Anyways, but yeah, no, please feel free to add me on Facebook as per usual. And yeah, that's cool. Right on. All right, so I'm going to bring on the next caller here. So this is a caller from area code 519, and which may or may not actually be like within my area. No, I'm pretty sure it is. So we're going to bring that caller onto the air, and we're still looking for more callers to call into the air. So if you're looking to call in, please still call in, and we'll bring on a couple more callers, and then we'll go into the meditation. So after this caller, there's no one else who's queued up, so we're going to be looking for one more caller after this. So get ready to call into the air if you're thinking about it. So call from area code 519. We're going to bring you onto the air now. So here we go.
Hey, Hello. It's Ross. How you doing?
Hey, Ross. I had a feeling it was you.
Yeah. For about an hour away from London.
Yeah, right on. Cool, man. All right, so this is Ross from Paradigm Shift Chatham. You heard me mention him earlier in the show as well. So I'm just getting a little bit of static feedback from your end, Ross.
Oh, really? 1 second, man.
I don't know if like maybe you got like some extra radio or something going on in the background, but that may be better.
We good?
Check. Yeah, it's good enough. Okay, cool. All right, so again, Ross from Chatham and Paradigm Shift Chatham, what would you like to bring to the show tonight?
Well, first, man, thanks for giving our page a shout-out. Revive your mind. Open your eyes.
Cool.
Well, you guys are... Actually, first, have you ever seen the movie God Bless America? Just curious.
No, I haven't actually.
No, check it out.
Not familiar with it.
No, check it out. That's all I got to say. Well, we're kind of jumping from, like, UFOs to Salvia, which those are kind of both interesting topics to me. I've only done Salvia one time, and I'm never ever going to do it again. I kind of had an experience like you were explaining earlier, like you know, the kid from high school who's never. But actually, with UFOs, I kind of wanted to get your opinion on something. I don't know if you've ever heard. Stephen Hawking said that if aliens ever came down and discovered us, it would be similar to when Christopher Columbus discovered America, which, if you remember, didn't work out so well for the Indians.
Right.
Now, Neil deGrasse Tyson has the theory, like the chimp theory, where we're only like 1 or 2% different in our DNA than chimps.
Mm-hmm.
So if there was like an alien species that was like 1 or 2% different in their DNA than us, or higher in their DNA than us, they would come down and say, oh, you know, they can make satellites and they have good technology and, you know, they figured out math and whatnot, but, you know, that would be primitive to them.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just wondering, in your view, do you think it would be like I'm not saying that if they're not already here, do you think that it would be similar to when Christopher Columbus discovered America, or do you think because, you know, they'd be like 2% higher than us, then they would have so much more, like, you know, a love of life, like empathy for us? Like, do you think they'd understand?
I think, and again, this is, I guess, just sort of my intuitive opinion, I guess you could say. First of all, I do think that there actually are most likely, like I'm not saying definite, but I'm saying most likely that there are probably other quote-unquote alien races who look almost exactly like us. And in that sense, there may already be some, like, already amongst us, so to speak. Hold on, Ross. I'm just going to mute your mic just while I talk, because I'm getting weird feedback, but I'll unmute you just as I respond to you. So just 1 second. But, there we go. So, but just to respond to the question, yeah, like, I think it's quite a possibility that there's actually, like, quote-unquote aliens who may actually look exactly like us, who are amongst us. And that's sort of something I've always envisioned, like, the idea of, like, Obama being, like, on stage for some sort of state address and being like, and now let me introduce the aliens from Andromeda Galaxy. And then, like, they walk on the stage and it's just, like, some guys, like, who look like us in suits or whatever and or something like that. Because I think there's this interesting idea that, like, the human human body is not something that originated on Earth, but is in fact like some sort of universal template that has the potential to come into fruition in any place of the galaxy, presuming the right ingredients are there. And in that sense, you know, it was almost something that was kind of not necessarily designed, but I mean, it was designed in the sense of trial and error. But once the universe sort of got the working blueprint, it sort of stuck with it. Now, that's sort of the shell. What happens inside that shell, like we were saying, is sort of dependent on different DNA, and then you can get in the idea of like sort of different abilities kind of being unlocked. So maybe these aliens, they might look exactly like us, but maybe internally they are far healthier, or they are more like psychically aware. They have like more of these like extrasensory abilities. Because one thing with extrasensory ability that I think, like, a lot of people sort of say, like, oh, how do we develop these psychic abilities? Well, I think one of the ways to develop these psychic abilities is to develop a way to remove the veils and the filters that are preventing them from happening all the time. Because there's a part of us, like, if psychic ability can happen even once, what's preventing it from happening all the time is kind of my question. Like, I think within every second of this waking reality, like, our mind is just on the verge of exploding with information and data and input and quantum like visualizations that are just so profound. And some of you know exactly what I'm talking about because you've seen these firsthand, and just being able to sort of see the reality as it is, see that empty space is not, there's no such thing. And then within this whole opening up of the perceptions, you realize that like we're actually like psychic by nature, but it's only through these veils and these filters that prevent us from being psychic. And you know, there's even reports of people like on psychedelic mushrooms who report being able to communicate with telepathy. Like, this has pretty much been scientifically proven, so to speak, that like telepathy is a real thing when you're on mushrooms. But again, you don't need mushrooms to be telepathic. Mushrooms help open you up to that. So of course the question is, how do we move into abilities such as telepathy without the need for external things coming into our body? So that's something that we're still moving towards, and maybe that goes hand in hand with activating DNA. So I don't even think that there are it's hard to say whether or not there would actually, you know, in terms of like the Indians and the you know, the other people sort of like turning out bad for the Indians. I don't even know if there necessarily are like a race of aliens that are sort of malevolent, so to speak. And if there are, then maybe there's like some sort of treaty or some sort of agenda or some sort of something that's preventing them from attacking us. Like, who knows? Like, maybe there actually is like some other malevolent space creatures out there who have like tried attacking Earth, but then like we're actually being defended by some sort of like galactic armada that's actually just like a little bit outside of our orbit, so to speak. And you know, maybe there's like real life Star Wars type stuff happening around our Earth and around our galaxy that we just like don't even really know about. Like, maybe, you know, like we've like been saved more times than we realized, kind of thing. So yeah, Ross, I'm just going to bounce it back to you if you just sort of have some thoughts on that. I'm not sure if that exactly answered your question, but I'm just going to unmute you now. So
no, you answered it good enough, man. Actually, George Norrie, Into the Light.
Yeah.
Like a very, very, have you heard of him?
Coast to Coast host, of course, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if you've ever read the book, but he has like a very, very similar view to what you have. Only it's kind of like, he says that like 90% of them are good and they're watching us, and then 10% are bad. And they only communicate with certain people, ones that they can trust, ones that aren't going to, I don't know, blow their cover, so to say. I don't see how writing a book about it wouldn't be blowing their cover, though. But yeah, no, you pretty much answered my question. Now, with Salvia, though.
Go ahead.
I don't know if you want to get into your meditation soon or not, but...
Oh, no, go ahead, man. No rush.
I just want to kind of explain my experience really quick with Salvia, because it was like no other. Well, first of all, I think I got a little bit more than everybody else. It didn't seem like it was that fun of a time for the people doing it, but when I did mine, it was more or less, you know, you go through like what you need to go through, and I kind of just laid down on the bed, and that's the last thing I remember. I was like a tiny, tiny little particle in a wave of particles, and all I could see was the other particles and the light. It wasn't even really that I could see them, it was more that I could sense them with me. And I had the feeling like I'd just been born, like I was just created, and that I'd lived out my life, and that I was coming to an end. And I honestly had like this overwhelming dread, like I was going to die, which is probably not the best experience to be having on psychedelic drugs, but I came to, and it was like my body was being formed out of the wall, and I realized it wasn't my body I was looking at, it was someone else's, and I could not even I did not know what a human being was. I mean, I was staring at their fingers, trying to figure out what their fingers were. Like, I could not interpret anything. So that's just kind of a warning to people out there, because I did actually have to go through a drug problem a while ago. So if you are going to do psychedelic drugs, really, really be careful what you're doing.
Yeah.
And you're right. You don't need them to achieve this. It probably does make it easier for some people, but my advice would be try and practice this with a clear head, with a clear mind. That's probably your best bet.
Yeah, since it was interesting, because, before Rebecca told me about, I'm just going to, you get all staticky when I talk, so I'm just going to bring you back on a second. But I was just saying, before Rebecca actually mentioned that she was doing Salvia, Salvia actually came up in conversation coincidentally a few times, and it's not something that I'm against doing. It's just something that coincidentally hasn't really fallen into my lap, so to speak. But if and when I were to do it, I'd want to be able to approach it with a mindful state, literally spend time meditating. Actually, before then, I would want to prep for it, weeks in advance, just physically, diet-wise, mindfulness-wise, and go into it with a whole respect for the plant, because each plant has its own spirit to it, and this is something that really coincides with the ayahuasca plant, which is something we've talked about on the past, and some of you are more familiar with than others. But the idea that Salvia divinorum, there's a plant to that within itself, and you sort of have the chance to sort of communicate with the species of the plant and sort of say all right, show me where I need to go, but don't be, you can ask it to be gentle with you. Maybe that's a little bit different with Salvia, maybe just sort of blast you off, so to speak. But if and when I were to do it, I definitely want to be able to do it with mindfulness experience, to be able to get something out of it. And I'm sure the term psychonaut comes to mind, and I like to think of myself as a psychonaut, and that can be taken in more ways than one, even in terms of exploring the inner worlds through lucid dreaming and so forth. The psychonaut is just the astronaut of the mind, of the inner mind. So I mean, I consider myself a psychonaut. I'm not against sort of going places that few others have been, both internally with and uniquely with myself. I mean, you can't have another person's experience, so you can only have your experience. So you are the adventurer, and the, kind of quoting Terrence McKenna, you are an explorer. Your job is to bring something back to share with culture. So that would be my objective, to go through this experience, to have something to bring back. And that's been something that I definitely in my past experiences, that's something that I always keep in mind. So but yeah, Ross, I'm just gonna bring you back on. So
okay, yeah, it's well, I think maybe that was my mistake too. Was that you said you would prep yourself health-wise, mentally. I didn't do that. It kind of just showed up one day, and I think that's probably my problem. If I was in a different state of mind, I probably would have went to a very beautiful place rather than where I did go. I probably would have had a different experience anyways. But
absolutely, yeah. So yeah, I mean, who knows, man? Who knows? Maybe there's time and a place for it in the future for everyone. But yeah, it's not something that anybody should feel obligated to do. It's there. So yeah, all right. Now, Ross, while we're talking, there's quite a few more people who are sort of dialing into the show, so I'm going to try and get them on as well. So anything else you'd like to say just before we move on to the next caller here?
Yeah, open your eyes, and when it comes to psychedelics, be careful.
Yeah, cool. All right, that's important, guys, so remember that. We're not advocating psychedelics, we're just advocating the discussion about them, so keep that in mind. So, all right, Ross, and again, plug your Facebook page. It is facebook.com/reviveyourmind, right?
Right, yeah, thanks, man.
Perfect, cool. All right, thanks again, Ross.
All right, much love, buddy.
Cheers. All right, so we are going to bring on another caller, and it's 12:37 a.m. on my clock right now on the Psychedelic Sunday, and we still will get to the meditation. Maybe it'll be at within the last 5 minutes of the show, though I won't necessarily want to rush it, but we'll just get through it. We'll get to it. And I'm going to bring on another caller. So caller from area code 902, you have been waiting on the air for a little bit of time, so thank you for being patient, and we are going to bring you onto the air. So again, caller from area code 902. Here we go. Hello, caller. Can you hear us?
Hi. Yeah, I can.
Cool. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from?
I'm Jakeman, and I'm calling from Nova Scotia.
Awesome, Jakeman. Yeah, we've been chatting on and off on Facebook and stuff like that. So yeah. Right on, man. What would you like to bring to the show tonight?
I really didn't have a clue what I was going to bring, but the only thing that's popping into mind right now is lucid dreaming stuff.
Okay, yeah, no, that's always a popular topic. I never get tired of talking about lucid dreaming. Anything in particular? Maybe like a question that you might want to throw my way or something, or an experience?
Well, I guess to me, hand in hand, or lucid dreaming and astral projection seem to go hand in hand. And like months ago, there was a time where I just was going throughout my day, got really lazy, and sat on the chair upstairs and ended up hearing the phone ring, or what I thought was hearing the phone ring. So I tried to get up to go grab the phone, and I was kind of stuck. My legs were trying to walk to go grab it. My arms were trying to push myself up out of the chair, and I felt like everything else was stuck where it was. And I remember I was like, oh, this is kind of really odd. I couldn't feel my back leave the chair at all, so I tried to kind of like slap myself. And I don't know why, that just came to mind, so I tried to slap myself, and I felt my hand hit myself in the face, and I didn't really react to it like I would. It just kind of hit me, and I was like, oh, well, that didn't do anything. And the phone was still ringing, and then eventually I woke up. And that was my, like, almost astral projection / lucid, like, dream, and it's the most, like, into or conscious, I guess, I've become in a dream that I remember.
Yeah. I think the thing that's interesting when we have those moments where we become conscious within our dream state and we get lucid and stuff like that is that we realize that our common sort of way that we are used to moving our body does not really work the same way within the dreams. Like, it's pure thought-based. So, I mean, obviously it's still thought-based right now, but I mean, you know, like, if we want to stand up, most of us can stand up right now. But I mean, in a dream, like, you know, like, you're trying to make yourself stand up by moving your legs, but your legs don't work the same way in the dream. So you literally just sort of, like, have to, like, realize that the only thing that's holding you down are your thoughts to begin with. And it really just takes, like, a different way of using your own mind. And yeah, it's totally like trippy sometimes, right? And that's where you get experiences when people are in dreams and they might be having like a slow motion experience where they're like trying to run and they're just like moving really slow and they're just like, what's happening, you know? Like, I can't, or like I'm stuck in the ground, and there's like, oh, like, I'm sure some of you, like, while you're listening to this can almost like think back to that experience if you've had this before, and the majority of us have. And again, like, that's because like within the dream realm, and again, like, this is the higher dimensions, like, that's kind of more where we're from. Like, that's more kind of the real reality where we're from. Not that this is equally unreal, but that's just kind of where consciousness, like, that's like master command. That's where stuff sort of originates from and crystallizes down into this density. But again, that's like where we go to every night. But within that dimension where things are less dense, like, we have the ability to sort of like move through objects and stuff like that. So I mean, you know, we visualize ourselves like getting stuck with our feet in the ground. And then again, the only thing that's holding us back is our mind. So I mean, if you were to just like be like, hey, like, this isn't working, but then just take a second to like breathe and just be like, all right, and then you could just like float yourself up. But it takes conscious awareness, and one of the big things that you know, people are interested in lucid dreaming, like, you got to practice your awareness like throughout the day, and also like being able to practice it in meditation. So I mean, if not, then yeah, you're just going to get those circumstances where you become lucid in your dream and then you're just stuck in a chair slapping yourself all day. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like,
I remember for me, I woke up and it was before I'd even gotten into anything that would have, I really don't know how to describe any of this stuff, but it would have made me think about it deeper. And I was scared, and I remember being scared because in my dream, I remember trying to get up and my back not having any lift, but I was like, screw it, I'll try and walk anyways. I'll drag myself off the chair if I have to. And I went to try and walk, and my back, like, cracked, and I remember in the dream, I felt it, and I was like, and I woke up, and I, like, felt my lower back, and I was like, oh, what, and everything was fine. And I was all freaked out about it, and I called one of my friends who I knew more about dreams than I did. So I went and asked her questions, and she helped me out a lot about it. And then eventually I got to learn more about it myself, just coming across it, I guess. And it always makes me go back and think about that time and how it makes me rethink it every time because I remember it so well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Totally, man. So, I mean, I would just keep encouraging you, because since you've sort of had a taste for that experience, like, you know it's real, right? Like, some people haven't totally had those lucid dreaming experiences, and very similar to psychedelics, like, it's not something that you can really explain to someone until they have it for themselves. But, like, now that you know that it can happen, like, it can happen again, but you've only just, like, grazed, like, the surface. Like, there's so much, like, more that you can go. And I'm not saying I'm an expert either, but I think that's part of the reason why we're all here, is to, like, creatively be able to, like, return to these other states, like, with that mindful awareness, and remember that, like, we are here to learn through the experiences, and that we can also keep learning within these dream states too. So, I mean, how do we do that? How do we become better students within our dreams? So, step one is to, like, learn how to walk, or learn how to float, learn how to fly, right?
Yeah, like, learn how to move, I guess.
Learn how to move, yeah, because it's totally within your mind. So if anybody who's in a dream and happens to become lucid tonight, just remember that like, if you want to float, all you have to do is believe that you can fly. Like, it's straight out of Peter Pan, which is why the scientists have a hard time working with it, because they're just like, prove to me that lucid dreaming is real. Prove to me that astral projection is real. And there's like, oh, well, you know, like, you can give them a methodology for how to do it. You can say, like, first of all, like, you're going to want to, like, meditate in your day-to-day life. You're going to start writing a dream journal. You're going to start doing reality checks and developing your waking awareness. And then eventually, it's not guaranteed, but eventually, there will come a point where you become aware in your dream. And then once you're in that state, all you have to do is think that you can fly, and you can fly. And the scientists at that point would just be like, I don't believe it. Like, you know, like, that sounds like something straight out of a Disney movie. But where did the Disney movie get it from? You know, like, why are these, like, symbolic images appearing within our movies, within our culture, if they weren't actually from something that is part of the experiences that we're familiar with, right? So, I mean, just keep that in mind, that your thoughts are the holographic projector of your reality, and they totally create. So there's so much stuff that you can do in your dream, and I'm just waiting for the moment where I can get, like, super versed in my dreams, and I can just, like, start doing some, like, crazy, like, Dragon Ball Z, like, training simulation stuff in my dreams. Like, that's call that, like,
exactly.
Ego, but I mean, damn, man, like, that's what I want to do that. Like, I'm not holding my breath for another good Dragon Ball Z movie to come out. Therefore, I want to experience Dragon Ball Z within my dreams. So that's my goal.
Sure. And for me, I think the thing that's driving me to continue to try and get myself lucid again is that I've only had that one experience. That I've been lucid in. I wake up all the time now that I've started writing in my dream journal, that I've started it, and I've only really started it for a week now, and it is helpful. It's ridiculously helpful, and it makes me think about that scientist, and it's like, oh, I don't believe that. Well, if he was a true-to-heart scientist, he would take the 2 weeks to a month to write a dream journal, do reality checks, and meditate, and figure out if it does work.
Yeah, exactly. So, for sure, man. So, I mean, it's good that we as a community sort of have each other's back to be able to remind us of this, because it's so easy to drop out of these habits. But there's so much information there online for people to check out. But for anybody who's sort of, like, on and off the lucid dreaming thing, just be reminded that, like, all of us are sort of, like, in some way trying to do this together. We're trying to help each other move forward. So just think that you got the support of the community, and as we and remember that, like, as we become conscious within our dreams, we're going to become more conscious within our waking life. Like, the goal is to awaken both in this reality and in the dream reality. Like, believe it or not, but people are asleep when they're awake, if you know what I mean. So I mean, part of the goal is to be able to wake up, like, in both states, in both realities, because that is essentially, like, we are not just in one reality. We think that we're in just one reality, but we are in both realities. So, I mean, how do we do that? How do we wake up? So, I mean, like, go meditate, go practice your awareness, go do reality checks, and go do your research, and then get back to us and share your story. Like, I've been doing the video dream log, so I haven't posted one in the past week, actually, but I'm hoping to be able to get back into the habit of that some more. And part of that was just, you know, my sleep schedule is all off, and just like, not that I was making excuses, but I'm just sort of, you know, we're all sort of like moving through waves, and the experiences do come in waves, and there may be times, and this is an interesting point to make note of, and Jake, well, actually, I'm just going to try and bring up one more caller after this, but right. I'll let you get a word in after. But what I was just going to say is keep in mind, people, that awareness and information and experience sort of comes in waves. And there may be points where you'll feel that you're progressing and you're getting really, really good at progressing, and then suddenly it'll feel like everything will just drop off. But then part of that drop-off point is like the psychological dark night, like the psychological dark night of the soul, which is testing you to see whether or not you'll actually climb back up. So, I mean, that's the thing. The universe might give you like this amazing lucid dream experience, and then you won't get anything for like a week, and you're just like, what, you know, maybe even a month. You're just like, what the heck is going on? You know, like, this isn't fair. But then that's going to test you. That's going to see, like, are you serious about this? Like, do you really want this experience? Because you have to understand that, like, it's only going to happen if you keep pushing. But if you, like, get pushed back a little bit and then just give up and walk away, then you've already answered your own question. Like, you've already decided that you're not good enough, so to speak. And the thing is that we are all good enough, but it's our ego that will tell us that we're not. So, I mean, you know, like, identify that little voice in the head that is telling you to avoid the things that are harder to do. And like I was saying earlier in the show, like, figure out the harder choice and then make that one. And that's where you'll get the more rewards. So even in the face of insurmountable odds, or in the face of very little progress, when it feels like there's very little progress, those are the moments of resistance when we have the most opportunity to grow. So, Jake, do you got any thoughts on that before we move on?
Basically, you like nailed it. What I was thinking about, if you have these times where you either feel like you're doing so good, so you don't have to put as much effort into it, and then it slowly falls away, or you have these times where it just seems so hard to get past this one point, so you don't want to put that much effort into it because it comes back as being really hard. Mm-hmm. But as long as you keep working at it, if you really, really want to, it's a time where you can grow, where you can basically explode inward and outward.
Totally. Yeah, that's right. Explode inward and outward. Of course. And everybody's watching this. Share the Harlem Shake video. ParadigmShiftCentral.com. Share that Harlem Shake video. We need to make that viral.
For sure. That's so awesome, man.
That's a community objective that we got to share. Like 30-second thing, and it's going to like blow people's minds. So
yeah.
Cool. All right, Jake, so are you thinking about starting up a Paradigm Shift community where you are?
It is looking to become a possibility in the future around here. I'm definitely possibly gonna make that happen, because I liked in the beginning you said of this whole show, you were saying something about how it always seems like there isn't anyone to talk about, and for me, I definitely feel that around here. It doesn't seem like there's really anyone to talk about this kind of stuff with other than through the internet, which I've found. But if you just start throwing around the word, you never know who's going to come knocking.
Mm-hmm. For sure, man. So yeah, that's what you gotta do. You gotta keep putting the tendrils out there, and people will respond. So yeah, but we gotta do that. We gotta be the catalyst. So that's part of why we're here, right? So cool.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, man. So are you? Feel free to join us in the hangout as well, and then we'll probably talk to you more there.
I'm looking forward to that.
Cool, man. All right, so Jake from Nova Scotia. Cool. All right, thanks, man. So say goodbye to the internet for now.
Bye, internet.
All right, okay, talk to you later, man. Cheers. Peace. All right, cool, guys. So, yeah, you know what? I mean, like, we've done a meditation, like, in every single show, and not that I want to, like, put it off, but, I mean, obviously you guys can, like, do a meditation on your own time, and there has been, like, one other show in the past where we haven't done a meditation, but to be honest, I'm more interested in hearing what the people who are calling into the show have to say, and I hope you understand, too, and maybe the fact of the act of us listening is a meditation in itself. So I'm going to bring on another caller, and we'll just see where it goes. I mean, if we don't get the meditation in, hey, like, it's okay. Like, it's not the end of the world. So, or maybe it is. Oh my God, there's an asteroid. Look out. I'm just kidding. It's not the end of the world. Okay. All right. Okay. Caller from area code 902. We're gonna bring you onto the air. So 902. Here we go. Hello, caller. Can you hear us?
I think it's still me.
What the hell? Get away from me. Bye.
Bye.
Caller from area code 360. We're gonna bring you onto the air, not Jake. Here we go. Hello, caller. Hi, caller. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I hear you.
Cool, caller. What's your name? Where are you calling from, and what would you like to bring to the show?
My name is Ramadasa. I'm calling from Washington State.
Cool.
And I haven't heard too many people in the same similar situation as me. I'm a walk-in.
Okay.
I've been here for 13 years now, and I've been trying to explain to a lot of people what you're now explaining to people. So it's awesome that people are waking up and catching on, and I'm not the freak anymore.
For sure. Well, what would you like to share? Like, you know what? Like, I'm thinking, would you be interested in maybe leading us through a meditation, or would you rather just talk for the next couple minutes? Because it sounds like you might be an interesting person to have us through meditation if we can do that within the last couple minutes. What do you think?
Whatever you want. It's cool.
Okay. Actually, you know what? Like, okay, can you just explain to me, for the people listening, I mean, yeah, like, I'm more interested in sort of hearing your story, and then in the future, we can have you call in and maybe do a meditation with us as well. But explain to me, you know, not for me, for the people listening, like, a little bit about what you mean when you say a walk-in.
Okay, the body that I'm in now was occupied by another soul, another girl. She lived in here. There was a terrible car accident she was in. She died. The body died. She walked out. Before either one of us incarnated into a body, we had already discussed her leaving, me coming in and using her body to further what I need to do. It wouldn't work for me to be born as a baby and go through childhood and all that. I have things to do I need to do now. And so she allowed me to take her body after she left it, you know. It's just like clothing. It's like I put on her clothes.
Right.
So, yeah, it was my first memory of it is just waiting for the body to wake up since it was unconscious still.
Mm-hmm.
I was waiting. And that's such a weird memory. And when I woke up, I mean, I knew how to walk and talk and eat and all that. I knew who my mother was, but I couldn't tell you what her favorite color was, what she liked, anything about her. I just knew that she was my mother, whatever that was.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. You know, I can't say I've actually had the opportunity to talk to someone who's openly been able to recognize themselves as a walk-in. And yeah, like this obviously goes hand in hand with the idea that these bodies are vehicles, clothing, whatever adjective you want to use there. And you know, we exist sort of as soul, and as soul we sort of come and go. And like you said, in these traumatic experiences, one soul might say like, all right, you know, like I'm done here, like, you know, and that's their free will to sort of do it. But then the other soul is like, oh, hey, you know, like you said, like I got some stuff I want to do. Mind if I sort of like jump in here and start doing it? So I mean, like, what how certain are you of this fact? Like, I just want you to reiterate, because I mean, I know if you were to sort of maybe talk about this stuff outside of this radio show, people would just like call you crazy, so to speak. And I'm sure you've dealt with that in the past. But I mean, like, just reiterate for me, like, how certain are you of this fact? Like, can you just tell us more about yourself?
Wow, I know this, like, I've even, like, tried to go to a psychic, and I was like, why? I know what I experienced. I know what's going on. I remember other lives that I've lived on this planet. I know other lives that I've lived on other planets.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, and a lot of my friends don't think I'm weird. They actually believe me because I say it with such conviction.
Mm-hmm.
I lived it. I experienced it. They can't question it. They aren't like, you're nuts. You know, these are some crazy ideas. They might not be ready to accept it, but they don't call me crazy. They tell me more. I want to know.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, like, I have a real hard time with, you know, people going, well, hey, you were born in this year. You should know what's going on. Well, I don't have any of her memory. That was hers.
That's the trippy part. Like, that's the part that, I mean, a lot of people would have hard to process. Like, yeah, like, you don't remember anything about grade school or high school? Like, is that...
Nothing. And there are people that will recognize me. They'll be like, hey, don't you remember we went to high school together? We did all this stuff.
Whoa.
No, I'd never seen you before in my life.
Now, like, would a doctor try to tell you that it was because of the traumatic experience that this has caused like some sort of like psychological psychosis or something? Like, has that been something? Yeah, you know, that people have thrown that idea your way.
They just say that it's like amnesia, and I should have had my memory back after a year.
Yeah.
And so they just think, you know, well, I'm trying to, you know, make up a story to, you know,
right, yeah,
deal with all.
Yeah. Yeah, people might think that you're just doing it to get attention or something. But let me ask you, like, what do you feel that you are here to do? I mean, obviously this is an important thing for you to choose to come in, to choose to walk in to this incarnation and join us in this big party that we call the human experience. So what is it that you feel that you are here to do as part of your dharma?
First and foremost, to serve. And I mean, part of my name, Ramadasa, that's servant of Lord Rama. That's what I do. I'm serve. And, you know, in any way, shape, or form, and I'm finding more and more, it's to wake people up. You know, it's come in at that time where people need to be helped along. They can't just wake up on their own. It's too difficult. It's too dark of a time. You need someone to help you. Yeah. And there are a few of us around, but, I mean, I have never met another walk-in in person. I've never seen one other than on the Internet.
Yeah. Well, we got 90 seconds left in the show right now, so I just want to mention to the people who are listening to the show, I'm already seeing people doing this in the live chat. Post your Facebook pages and your Facebook accounts on the live chat and start connecting with each other. So everyone just do that right now. Post your Facebook pages if you want people to add you and start getting connected to the people who you've been talking with on the show right now. And of course, join us on Facebook at facebook.com/ParadigmShiftRadio, ParadigmShiftCentral.com, and share the Harlem Shake video, obviously. And I know next week we don't necessarily have another particular guest lined up, so we will be doing kind of a similar thing that we did this week. So if you didn't get a chance to call in this week, feel free to call in next week. And caller, I'll just within these last couple seconds, within like a 20-second thing, what would you like to share with this internet audience, this global audience here, before we wrap up?
I just want you all to be a lot more tolerant and love each other. That's all I want.
Yeah, for sure, yeah. I mean, you know, opening up to understanding, again, listening with the intent to understand rather than the intent to reply. So I'm glad that you called into our radio show, and thank you for listening. How long have you known about Paradigm Shift Radio?
I just saw it tonight via Collective Evolution, and I clicked and listened, and then you were like, hello, first-time listeners, and I was like, wow, he knows it was my first time.
Perfect. All right, guys, so we're going to wrap up the show right here, and this is about to go off the air with Blog Talk. So again, thank you everybody for tuning in. The after party will be happening. Find the links on the Facebook page. So again, thank you to our caller, and caller, just say goodbye to the internet before we wrap up here.
Thank you, guys.
All right, so on behalf of ParadigmShiftCentral.com, I am Skull Babylon. Add me on Facebook. Donate to the Skull Babylon GoFundMe account if you can. If you enjoyed this episode, please feel free to donate to help support the Paradigm Shift community in its expansion as we reach out, connect with more people, and help change the world. So once again, you've listened to another episode of Paradigm Shift Radio, and until next time, stay true, stay light, and stay love. This is Skull Babylon, and we will see you in the future. Peace.